Welcome and thanks for joining this 16th round of our knowledge sharing series on public health interventions, the Cities Changing Diabetes Rounds. My name is Joe Jewell and I'm the Global Director of the Cities Changing Diabetes Programme. Cities Changing Diabetes has been running for almost 10 years now, and we work to address urban obesity and diabetes, particularly with a focus on the most disadvantaged and vulnerable people in cities, with an aim to prevent chronic disease before it starts. The partnership has grown since 2014 to include more than 45 cities and 250 partners around the world taking action to prevent serious chronic diseases. Two areas of focus in our work include preventing unhealthy diets, but also increasing physical activity amongst the population. And today I'm really excited to be able to say that we have invited some inspiring speakers to talk to us about the transformative role active play can have in empowering children from vulnerable communities to be more physically active, but also have a whole host of additional benefits. Today we'll be having 4 guest speakers joining us, 2 live in the studio and 2 online. From the LEGO Foundation, we have Jill Popp, who is a Senior Research Specialist, and Mette Hauk, who is a Facilitation Specialist, and they will be joining us to introduce the Let's Play program, and I believe getting us active and sweaty a little bit as well. From ISCA, we have Jakob Schauenborg, who is the Secretary General of the International Sports and Culture Association. And we also have Piotr Sikowski, who is the Chief Operating Officer at V4 Sport Foundation. And those 2 speakers will be joining us online to introduce and speak about the Move for Fun program that we have co-developed and piloted across 3 countries. So what is the setup today? We'll be using around 30 minutes or so for presentations and activation, and then of course we'll go to the Q&A session where you in the audience will have your chance to ask questions and to participate actively. Remember that you can ask questions all the way throughout the webinar, and there is a question mark in the right-hand side of your screen, which you can be inputting your questions in as they come to you during the presentations. And then the questions will be sent to me, and I'll be managing the discussion, and I can raise those questions with our speakers. But first, before we get to the Q&A, let's hear from our speakers, and let's invite the colleagues from the LEGO Foundation, Jill Popp and Mette Hauk, up here to join me on the stage. Thank you so much for coming. It's great to have you in the studio with us today. I'm really excited to hear about LEGO Foundation's work around play, and in particular how it can be beneficial for active play and physical activity. So over to you, Jill.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone out there for listening to the presentations today. We'll start with getting moving and getting a little warm. I don't know about sweaty, but we will do a quick activity, and then I'll talk about the great debate that we find at the LEGO Foundation. What is play? And then I'll give you some examples from our playground, and then we'll cover some playful considerations and key takeaways. But first, over to my colleague Mette, who will guide us through some activities.
Okay, well, great. And hi, everyone online. I hope that you're a little interested in playing with us. We definitely invite you to participate in these next 4 or 5 minutes of activity. And I have some really, really, really courageous people in the room with me. So I'm going to invite all of you to join me over here. And then if you just... put your things here, and then I would love for you just to line up, I guess, so you can role model to our great audience at home. So, but one of the things that we know is really good is that if you get to be physically active, you open up your channels for learning. So what I want us to do today is to role model a little bit about physical play. And what we also know is that when children play, they love when adults play. So I invite you to lean in and be role models today. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, yay. So I guess we all know the game called Simon Says. So we're going to do a little physical version of a Simon Says play, also to show that you don't need all kinds of toys to play. It's about a playful mindset. So, okay, so the rules are, I'm going to invite you to sit on an invisible chair. So that's your chair, right? And we all know when I say Simon says, the rule is you have to do it. But if you do it and I don't say Simon says, you kind of lose, but we don't want you to be out of the game. So if you don't do it correctly, you have to sit on your chair, put your hand on your head and just count to 5 and then you're in the game again. Okay? Understand? Okay, so let's, I'm just gonna have my notes here. Are you ready?
Yep.
Good, okay. So Simon says stand up. Yes, Simon says put both hands on your heads. Turn around. So invisible chair. Okay, stand on one leg. Great. Okay, Simon says you have to pick apples. Yes. Simon says go a little faster. Simon says you have to twist while you pick your apples. Yes.
Oh,
that's good. Okay, please play tennis. Yeah. Please play tennis. Yay, we have a... Okay, so Simon says please mop the floor. Yes. Simon says you have to drive a car. Yes. Please back it up. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, please stand on one leg and pick up the laundry from the floor. Okay, so Simon is inviting you to cut down a Christmas tree with an axe.
Oh.
Simon says, please start making pancakes. Yes. Yes, please make the pancakes. Good. Simon says, please try and make and flip the pancakes with your feet. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Simon says twist. And please stand up. Oh, you gotta do that. Okay, so Simon says, think of the favorite game you played as a child and reenact it. So what did you play as a child and reenact it? Simon says, reenact that play.
Oh dear.
Simon says, please put your hands on your head. And thank you very, very much. And I don't know if you did it at home, but thank you if you played along. And you could scale this up and down, of course, with all of your different prompts. So thank you. And thank you, brave people. Give yourself a hand.
Thank you, Mona.
And now we're ready to learn.
Yeah.
I think I need the clicker.
Yes. There you go.
All right. Well, thank you, Meta, for that. And for people hopefully playing along, hopefully they were at work playing along at their desks. And yeah, so let's get going. We've gone through the agenda. I'll just get right into it. So as I'm sure it won't come as a surprise that one of the many questions that we get at the LEGO Foundation is related to what is play? And in a response to that, we developed many years ago the characteristics of playful learning, and you can see them on the screen. For us, we think that play is the ideal way that children develop skills necessary for their development and learning. It supports ways that children explore and engage and learn about the world most effectively through actively engaging with new concepts or making connections in a meaningful way that's important to them, being socially active, and also testing ideas about the world through iteration. And of course, most important at the top, having some joy while doing it. In addition to the play characteristics, the second question we often get is, well, how do you do it? And really, we think that the facilitator's role is something that is paramount in a quality play experience. And facilitators can be adults, they might be other peers, but they really help to inspire play. They create time and space, maybe even materials for the play experience. And most important, they spot those great opportunities to have integration of learning goals throughout the day. Their involvement and support for children varies. For example, they might provide very little structure during a free play to very well-planned instruction for direct instruction. With guided play and games, we see sort of a balance between structure and children's agency and choice. And we know that children have different learning interests and needs, and a great facilitator can really meet the child or children where they are and support them to grow. For the purpose of the presentation today, I'll focus on physical play and the benefits that the research supports for this type of play. But of course, there are many other types of play that support children's whole child development. Most important, and hopefully what you take away from today, is that it's not just jumping around. While children are engaged in physical play, they can have certain benefits for their social emotional development, their cognitive development, social competence. There's also really great evidence that physical play helps with children's health benefits and exercise. And it's important to note, even for adults, that unstructured breaks throughout the day from intense cognitive tasks are important for development. You can see other great benefits of physical play on the slide. In general, we believe that children have the right to a balanced diet of play, so a variety of different types of play can support children's whole child development. So from theory to practice and our playground, I've gathered a few examples of projects that we've supported along the way. Of course, there are many others in your community that we would love to hear about. The first that I'll talk about is one of our partners, Right to Play. And they've developed this compendium of play activities. It has 100 gender-responsive play-based learning activities that support whole child development, promote psychosocial well-being, and also helping children to process difficult emotions. They also have different play experiences that show children how to be inclusive of their peers of all different backgrounds, genders, and abilities. You'll also see prescriptions for play on the bottom. And this was developed in 2018 to really leverage the great opportunities and access that pediatricians have with caregivers to really promote learning through play in early childhood. The objective is to really introduce the discussion about the importance of play with caregivers, to motivate them to continue with various activities that they take home with them. Another example that we have is Playful Cities and Playful Cities Toolkit. And this is really a practical and inspirational guide for urban practitioners and city authorities to really imagine how play can be embedded within a community. It has a framework that includes the importance of play, how to design for different play activities, and then also how to measure the impact of those interventions. So children do have a fundamental right to play, and they also have a unique perspective on what they think is important in their community. And so we always encourage programs or interventionists to ask kids, to ask families and communities about what is important with them. Oftentimes it's individuals in the community that have the best solutions. We also know that playful environments, quality playful environments, really support diverse learners, their needs, and promote greater inclusion within the classroom. Of course, there's more that we need to know how play can help to reduce equity in the research. I should also say that Meta was a great facilitator, and guided facilitation is really important in terms of helping to design and minimize inequity that can sometimes be reinforced during play. So sometimes we can see that play mirrors situations that are going on in a child's home or community, and that can be acted out in a play experience. And so it's a really great facilitator that can pick up on those things and then, for example, offer different perspectives that the children may take the next time they're in a play situation, or maybe create problem-solving solutions or scenarios that they can respond to during a play situation. And so you might have been feeling a little nervous during the play experience, or am I going to be able to sit for that long? And facilitators certainly guide play in that way, but they also can really help support deeper learning for young children. So some key takeaways. Play is certainly important for all children, and they all have a right to play. Quality learning through play supports healthy physical, mental development, and holistic skills. There are certainly some barriers that we see that young children and adolescents encounter that may minimize the amount of play that they have, either lack of awareness about the great benefits of play, or just difficulty integrating it throughout the day, or big class size, or not enough materials, but really making room and space for that and integrating that into the learning experience is important. We also know that play really supports healthy physical development, but also mental development as well. Mental in terms of anxiety and depression that children may be experiencing, and that physical play and other types of play can really help to support children having good mental and physical well-being. And then finally, it's really important, as I said, to involve the community members, to think about asking what some of the barriers are and working with them to mitigate that so that all children have this access to play. They can certainly support in the planning and design, and sometimes that often helps with motivation and sustainability of a program. If you have any more information or have any more questions, certainly put that in the chat. But also, if you want to get to know us better and learn about some of the work we're doing, this is how you can do it. Thank you.
Super. Well, thanks very much, Jill and Mette. That was a great introduction, both in practical and sort of theory to play. And I think with our next speakers and the next presentation, we'll get some more concrete examples of what this can look like in practice out in different communities around the world. So I would like to welcome Jakob and Piotr online, who will be talking a little bit more to us about the Move for Fun program and the results that we've started to see from that program, which are really exciting. So I will give the floor directly over to Jakob and Piotr, and then we will come back for some questions and answers later. And just to remind you that you can continuously put questions in the Q&A box down on the right-hand side of your screen. So over to Move for Fun, and see you in a bit.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I would like to start. My name is Jakob Schornborg. I am Secretary General of International Sport and Culture Association, and we are one of the 4 key partners in Move for Fun. So Move for Fun is a global partnership between us in ISCA, DGI as the Danish Sports Association, Novo Nordisk, and then our local implementing partners, which are ISCA member organizations. So if we can see the slides, please. Just very briefly, I would like to touch upon what I think many people in the webinar already know, that we have a huge crisis of inactivity. It's 75% of all adolescents that are not moving enough and not meeting physical activity recommendations. That is really a severe problem. That is corresponding then also with other crises, namely the health crisis, both mentally and physically, the inclusion crisis, where we see lack of community cohesion, and education crisis. And we heard from Lego Foundation also what are the barriers actually to active play and learning indeed. And then in our space, the physical activity and grassroots sports space, we frankly do not see very many programs that are implementable across different borders and different settings. We don't see enough ownership and responsibility being taken to address the physical activity problem. So is it the healthcare sector? Is it the education sector, the culture and sports sector that takes responsibility? Not really happening. So that is an issue. And we don't see enough action. We know enough about the problem. We know enough that physical activity, play and sport works. And now is the time to take action. So we wanted to design a program, the Move for Fun program, and we wanted to build that on what works. And if we take the next slide, then you will see we took key learnings from across the world, and not least from Denmark, from DGI, the Danish Sports Association, that has implemented a program called Jump for Fun, with a vision to include overweight and other children with overweight and other issues in leisure time physical activity on a local community basis. And so this program has been extremely successful. It's now implemented in more than 40 municipalities all across the country in a partnership between local municipalities, DGI as a national association, and then the local sports club in that area. If we take the next slide. Then you can see that the partnership, as mentioned, consists of us in ISCA. DGI is the Danish Sports Association with a programmatic experience, Novo Nordisk with huge experience in community-based programs and also providing funding for the pilots, and then country partner organizations. Next slide, please. And so the Move for Fun program was conceived between these partners, and then we developed a pilot, which means that we took engaged with partner organizations in 3 different countries, the UK, Argentina, and Poland, to try and adapt the program to their respective situations. Next slide, please. And so the program was based on the concept of physical literacy, and from that we derived, together with DGI, 4 key motivators. And you will see these resonate very well with what Mette just presented from the Lego Foundation's work, namely that joy, the fun, can be a driver. Being together with your friends and peers can be a driver. That's the go-together aspect. And then in the space of physical activity and grassroots sport, we also add Go Pro, to challenge yourself to learn something new as a motivator, and Go Fit, which is mostly for adults, namely that you want to be and remain healthy as you grow older. Next slide, please. So this led us to the Move for Fun program. It's an umbrella concept, and you'll hear soon from Poland how they then implemented that in that country. But it's based on the understanding that children from the ages largely from 6 to 12 years old should be more physically active, based on local anchored programs. It should be suitable to implement both in schools and local communities and club settings. And we want it to be not too complicated, not too difficult to implement. And then basing that on inclusion, so children should be involved. The children should actually be able to co-design the activities themselves, enjoy those activities, and of course be able to share their experiences so that you can continuously improve the program. And if we take the next slide, the next piece of information, you will see here that we've been extremely pleased with how this program has been implemented. And we talk here about a period of time where there was a COVID pandemic. There has been war happening. There's been huge inflation and other political issues. And nonetheless, we managed to implement this program with quite some success and extremely good learnings. And so this example of a public-private partnership has been for us a great learning journey, not easy, but really relevant. And we are very keen to see how we can also implement Move for Fun in other countries as we go forward. But for now, I would ask for the next slide and then hand the floor over to my colleague Piotr from Poland. Thank you for listening.
Hi, hello, I'm Piotr Sitkowski. I'm from Before Sport Foundation. I was in charge of Move for Fun pilot here in Poland. And just before I take you on a brief journey, let me give you a quick introduction. We are based in Poland, in Wrocław currently. And for more than a decade now, we have built experience and expertise combating sedentary lifestyles. In other words, we are all about encouraging healthy lifestyles through movement, especially among children, because children, you know, they are the future. Please, next slide. When Jakob first approached us in 2021 and offered to do Move for Fun in Poland, we were very enthusiastic. We soon discovered, though, that it's going to be a different project that we used to do in past with foreign partners. It was more than a brief, than a ready for implementation thing that we used to do in the past, like I said. It was precisely defined in terms of values. It had some key characteristics and target audience defined, but nothing beyond that. I mean that as long as we were aligned with those core values, we could take Move for Fun and expand it towards more traditional offline-based sort of thing, or next slide, or more modern kind of thing on the spectrum of possibilities. What was for sure at that moment, that regardless its final shape and form, it was too soon for implementation. It wasn't ready for implementation. That was the first thing that we might get wrong. If we went to schools and said, okay, we have very cool thing, join us on Move for Fun. Next slide, please. Next, please click one click. Yeah. It was too soon. There was not value defined for those participants, these potential participants. We needed some thinking to be done, some development stage that still needed to be done to define this that value and benefits for participants. Please, next slide. So we moved on and started with development stage, and development stage is quite tricky. First of all, it requires mutual trust from partners. I mean, founding partner and supervising partner. Because when you develop things, you go into creation mode, and then we need to allow ourselves to go back and forth to discover things, to try out things, and etc. And at this stage, you need to know that we, as V4 Sports Foundation, we basically operate in two modes. One mode is when we work for others. We are then in execution mode, and we do projects for others and implement them within our network, within our community here in Poland. When we are in the second mode, it is like creative mode. Then we design things from scratch, build concepts, and then invite other partners to join us for better outreach. We started Move for Fun with this, with all these questions that needed to have answers to. Next slides, please. We decided that we want to focus on school environment. School environment for various of reasons. First of all, kids spend more than 1/3 of their lives at that stage in schools. Schools give us many potential use cases to test our solutions. And schools, what is even more important, give this two drivers of motivation for being active. One is let's have fun and move. Have fun. And second is let's do it together, as Jakob already said. Next slide, please. This is how we defined accessibility, because it was one of the values of the project. We wanted exciting ways for kids to stay active at school. Please, one click. For us, it meant that they can play anytime they want. It means no need to change clothes, no need for any equipment. It meant that they can do it at any time at school. It means at recess time, during class, between the class, at the soft play on PE class, after school, etc., etc. And as I said before, we wanted to use this group dynamic which says, okay, let's have fun and let's do things together. Next slide, please. And we based our idea on the premise that there are games that are already liked and popular among children. No matter how across generation, across countries, across continents, when we list top 10 games kids still play. I used to play as well. I was a kid. I bet you too as well in the studio. This would be like Tag, Simon Says, which we played today, Capture the Flag, etc., etc. We wanted to build on that and give those games a fresh touch, a feature that corresponds with with current needs of kids, of generation of kids, the needs that are shaped by YouTube and gaming industry. Next slide, please. That's how we created active cards. By active cards, I mean deck of cards and the manual for teachers. Next slide, please. A deck of cards consists of two separate group of cards. One is green, and green says what sort of locomotion we would have. And as you see it on the picture, because all the pictures are not stock taken pictures, they are like from our Move for Fun in Poland, 100% pictures. And what I mean here, look at those kids just in the picture below. They are crawling, and actually they're playing tag. So they start playing tag, and then we said, okay, now you're gonna change the locomotion mode, and you draw the card. So they have agency, and they have choice. They can choose when they change and modify the game, and how it would turn out later on. And the surprise is very entertaining for them. What the card will say. In here, please click once again. In here we have crawling and tag runners. Kids who run away from tag are crawling, and the tag is also crawling. We can separate those two as well. It gives so much fun as well. Please, next slide. And next one. And the other type of cards are orange cards, and these are task cards. Please, one click. Here it shows. Oh, okay. Here it shows the group of boys who lost the challenge and were supposed to show how monkeys do. It's it says duck, but it should be monkey. So getting back to the warm-up we had with Lego Foundation today, it would be like this: when we played Simon Says and somebody just was knocked out of the game, despite just doing this hand on the head thing to restart the game, he will draw the card, or will draw the card, and there would be a task like do 5 jumping jacks, or show how monkeys do, or do a duck, or just roll on the floor, etc., etc. That is so much fun for kids. Next slide, please. And next one. So once we created those cards, we were sure that we nailed it, but we got it. Because we have right teacher, we selected people who are very open-minded among teachers within our network. We consider ourselves to be the right partner to work with, very responsive, and we had right activities. I mean, those cards and games. One click, please. But we were wrong. First version of cards was too complicated. When we sent them over to teachers and with manual, we were sitting and waiting for a feedback, and the feedback that came back was, okay, it's too complicated. It's not so easy to use, because the first version of cards was different than the one that I showed you. It had a very detailed description of how games of the gameplay, etc., etc., etc. It took more than 1 minute to explain the game, so that was a deal breaker. What also we discovered at that stage was that, you know, as Lego already said, children love when grown-ups play with them, but teachers are not quite transparent whether they do it or not. They like it or not. They say they do it, but this is only supervision to some degree, but they don't play with kids. You know, it's way different to play with kids and supervise a group of kids. And we kind of discovered that, okay, cards must be at this stage facilitated. The game had to be facilitated by a grown-up or an older peer. Please, one click. At this stage, we moved back to Office and redesigned the cards. So we simplified them. And at that stage, we also understood that we need to showcase how to use them correctly and to see on our own eyes whether kids and how they interact with them. So we created the demonstration lessons, and we went to every possible place that wanted to visit us to show how it works, to see how kids have fun with it, etc., etc. Please, one click. One headwind we had during those 2 years of implementation was also that, teachers, their regular life was quite disturbed the first year by the pandemic. So people who were open-minded due to this anxiety and stress related to pandemic, because parents were stressed, children were stressed, teachers as well. Stress and anxiety is not a good friend of open-minded attitude. We narrow our thinking when we are stressed, not open it up. So we had this headwind in the first year, this challenge of finding the right person, because we didn't know whether we have a right person, or if it's that just a stress is going through that person related to a pandemic in the first year and the war in the second year, because once one subsided, the second big thing just showed up. One click, please. Okay, I told you how we redefined how we interact with schools and kids and teachers. We went to see them personally, to experience by ourselves how kids interact with our cards. We did it in different settings and different environments. I mean, little town, rural spaces, and bigger schools within the Wrocław city. 100% of these schools were public schools. One click, please. And these are results. After 1 year, we visited that many places and teachers. And second year, as you can see, it was very fruitful. The key takeaway is that we are on the good path, and the next steps are to systemize it, to create the system around our cars in the way that we can scale it up and do it successfully in a way that kids, of course, have fun, because it's nothing, it's nothing good if you have a good, well-working system and kids are not having fun. So this is point number one. Kids are having fun, and then we have system supporting that fun to happen as frequently as it is possible. Next slide, please. And like I said before, despite all these headwinds we had during the last 2 years, we are very happy with the outcome we finally achieved, and we know where there is still room for improvement, and this is this space regarding teacher involvement, but we know already how to solve it and how to plan next steps. Okay, so this is it. I think that we could play the video. I want you to watch. I invite you to watch a short video from Move for Fun in Poland, so you can have a feel how it looked like.
This is for fun.
Mette, Jakob, and also Piotr for the really exciting overview. And I think it was a really interesting combination of presentations that took us right from, I guess, in a way, the theory of play and what definition of what we mean by play, through to how we translate that into sort of project ideations. And then lastly, with the presentation from Poland around actually how we implement and localize these ideas, projects in a way that sets them up for success. And, also some very practical examples there from Poland in terms of how we overcome some of the challenges in implementation that many of us are likely to encounter as we try to do these things. So, during the presentation, several comments and questions have come through, which is really great. Please do continue to add your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll try to get through them all in the remaining time. In the meantime, I'd like to invite Jill and Mette up to join me here at the table. And of course, Piotr and Jakob, if you could also participate in the Q&A online. I guess one common challenge that all of us will have faced in the work is, how do you actually engage with communities and community members in order to make, help prioritize play, make them understand that play is important and that they understand the benefits, and then, ensure that when you design an intervention, you do it in a way that is going to overcome barriers, but also ensure sort of an equitable impact, so that those who have the greatest need and potential to benefit will do so. Perhaps I could start with you, Jill, if you could answer that question from the Lego Foundation experience, and then we can go to colleagues online.
Great, thank you for the question. I'm afraid there's not a one-word answer to really approach this. It really is in my experience, from multiple angles that you sort of chip away at some of those barriers that are existing in communities, either through working with the local communities and local administrators, or working with caregivers, teachers, all the way up, through ministries. It's not just one approach that really tackles some of the barriers, but maybe multiple approaches that eventually, over time, can lead to systemic change.
Any reflection, Mette?
I think so. The local context and really respect for that, and hearing, I think, the voices like the Playful Cities, hearing the children, what are the needs they have, and then co-create with local partners. Mm-hmm. I think that's because when the project is over, we should have them still playing in their own local streets, so to speak. So I think ownership within the communities is really important.
Yeah. Actually, that links, before I go to Jakob, that links to a question that came in around key learnings and takeaways from some of the projects that you've led, Right to Play and Playful Cities. I mean, if you top line takeaways.
Top line certainly include children's voices. Mm-hmm. Also that, informal spaces can be opportunities for learning and for connection, either with other people in your community or family, so that these informal spaces can really act as a facilitator to engage children in different types of play. Mm-hmm. Playful Cities is really, used for inspiration and design and planning. But of course, we'd love to hear if people have used it and then had successful projects from it. But other things that are similar to that have shown great evidence in terms of children's whole child development and academic outcomes.
Great. Jakob, perhaps you have some reflections about, sort of how to motivate communities to join us on the play agenda, or join us in the playground, I think, to use your terminology, and any reflections about the equity angle from your work.
Sure. I think Move for Fun has taught us a lot, in the sense that you can tackle some of these disadvantages quite deliberately, either by engaging schools that may be in disadvantaged areas. I think that was the case largely in Poland and in the UK, or as was in the case in Argentina, really going into some of the most deprived communities and understanding the needs they have there, respecting the barriers that may still be around, and then providing a safe space for the children to play. So when it comes to addressing some of these barriers, I would say we need to understand that there's more than the hardware. This can be the playgrounds or the sport facilities. There's more even than the orgware, if you will, the organizations that need to engage the community-based entities that can help you get programs off the ground. There's also more than the software, the Simon Says, and the different ways of playing. We need to think really, really carefully about the partnerships that can help you get along. And so for me, the key learning here is that if you work together with expert partners, if you find the right people with the right motivation, you can really, really make a difference for the children.
Piotr, if I could just add a dimension to the question from your experience, I think inclusion is a really important aspect here, and we've had some questions coming in from the audience around ensuring that children with disabilities are able to participate in these games. And then a sort of another linked question is around how do you ensure that like some of these traditional games are not exclusive, excluding certain children or perpetuating certain stereotypes. Do you have any reflections on making sure that we keep we update things to be inclusive and inclusive and not exclusive?
Yeah, sure. I think that I will tackle that from a slightly different angle. In 2022, we have a huge wave of refugees that showed up almost overnight in Polish schools. I mean, kids with no Polish at all, speaking Ukrainian, etc. And exclusion / inclusion already happened there. So our task, was to help teachers to create an inclusive environment in such a stressful situation, so that a Polish class already will accept those newcomers. This is regarding like cultural exclusion or language exclusion. If we mean more traditional sense of inclusive games, when kids spend so much time together, we really worked with teachers who are class teachers. These are like primary schools, grades from 1 to 3. These are class teachers. Class teachers have their class. They teach all the subjects in the class. I think that's like most of this is mostly the case in Europe, but just to mention that and clarify that. It also means that in Poland, PE teacher is also a class teacher, same person. It means that if there is a disabled person, with physical disabilities and stuff, and etc., already they know how to include that person. And if the class is inclusive, they will include this person into any game, and they will readjust and modify the game so that person or these people can take part in. So it's kind of a different thing, I suppose.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think what's being highlighted though is the role of either the facilitator or the practitioner to really adjust the activity to meet children where they are. And also I think conversations like this are important to raise the notion that sometimes play can exclude children, and so it can make them feel anxious to be social. And so how can you adjust the activity in a way that is supportive of all of that? And I know it's a huge burden on a facilitator or practitioner to do that, but hopefully with time and conversations like this, we can increase that.
Yeah, and I do think that's where the magic in a really great facilitator is really shown, is that you are able to scale up and down and in and out with depending on what target group you have, and I do think that's something to have really top of mind, and especially when you work in communities that are not used to playing, where play is not very high on the agenda, and you have these stereotypical games. It's the responsibility of the facilitator to open it up and having an open mindset, and that's where we need to start, because the kids will play along if you invite them. So I do think, and that's where we have a lot of work to do and are trying to develop frameworks for that. Yeah.
And just to this point, and I think there's a question from the audience here. Obviously, the role of the facilitator is very key here, and it's critical that you get the right person to do it and that they do the job well. In some instances, we may use teachers to do that, but this could be on top of their existing role, competing with some other priorities that they have set for them in terms of other educational objectives for the pupils. So, I mean, how do you, in your experience, manage that? And then perhaps we also turn to the colleagues online to answer that question, but starting here in the studio.
Well, it's not that play should be an add-on to what they're doing. It takes time and coaching to think about how to integrate this seamlessly. And I understand it's difficult with many children and mandates about curriculum and things like that. But if there are ways that we can really seamlessly integrate this so that it's very natural in terms of just how children learn, then that's one step in the right direction.
Starting small, sometimes it's just a little. And when we talk facilitation, it's also informal settings. When we talk about that, it's not just classroom teachers, it's also the parents, the caregivers, the
Siblings, peers,
siblings,
and also facilitate.
Yes.
Piotr, do you have some reflections, seeing as in Poland you did use teachers as facilitators? Did they respond positively to the challenge?
Yeah, I will agree what just LEGO Foundation have said, that magical facilitator is a magical person, a person who understands the power of play. It helps that person on many different levels to integrate the group, to teach the group, to deal with their anxiety, stress, etc., etc. And our experience is that if we find the right person who already is educated in terms of how important physical activity is, it's already halfway through. I mean that we need to really find the right person. Well, right person in terms of like a mindset and awareness of that issue, and right person in terms of being ready to play with kids, as it was said a couple of times. And like I said in my presentation, the transparency of teachers regarding that aspect of their work really surprised us. It wasn't so obvious that when they say they play, they do, etc., etc.
Thanks so much, Jakob. I have a different question for you. I think in an earlier conversation with colleagues from the LEGO Foundation that we were discussing around, reach means something, but what really matters is outcomes. And it would be great if you could put a few words to sort of monitoring and evaluating the outcomes and impact of a program like Move for Fun, and what are some of your ambitions in this area moving forward?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So for us, the final outcome really is in the children themselves. We are here to make sure the children move more, but that's not just for the sake of movement. That's because it gives them opportunities to learn. It will make them healthier. It will make them more socially capable, etc. So measuring children's satisfaction, engagement, and involvement in the activities is the first step to really understand if you have some of those wider outcomes. So we've done that through these goal factors that I presented, and we're now also counting and measuring how many children are involved, to what degree are they sustained involved, and how can we then scale up the program to implement it in other cities in Poland, UK, and Argentina, but then also in other countries as we go forward. So I think measurement is really key, and if we want to prove that Move for Fun is relevant content, we also need to show that it can grow and scale and be sustained in the cities where it's implemented. And I think this is really the key for me from Move for Fun, that we can do that through data, through evaluation, but also through building new partnerships. And if I was to give one piece of advice, really, we may address some of the barriers there is to implement physical activity and play programs today, but it's not that hard if you find the right partners. And this would be my key takeaway. There's so many civil society organizations, dedicated school teachers, municipalities, private sector partners that want to do this. And if you find them and work together, it is possible to establish programs like Move for Fun that can get kids to be more active sustainably.
And do you see a potential for this program to be sustained and integrated and scaled by municipalities where you know they want to be involved? What do you see as sort of like the opportunities, but potentially some challenges in having this sustained locally?
I think municipalities are key here. Whether programs are implemented in schools or in leisure time, we need to understand that municipalities can see the benefits of more happy teachers, children that are involved and do attend school, which is not always the case. They see the benefits of lower healthcare costs in the longer term, less social distress, challenges and crime. And so municipalities are a key actor, but they're not the only ones. I believe municipalities can be the driver for something like Move for Fun to be taken to scale. And then we should work together with other types of partners as well to get the right input into the programs, to make it locally embedded and making sure that the partners really take ownership of it. It shouldn't be one actor trying to address this issue, but I think municipalities are key. And so far we can see they've been quite pleased with the Move for Fun program.
Super. I think in the interest of time, I'm afraid we're out of time and we need up. But thank you very much, Jakob and Piotr online, and of course Jill and Mette for joining us in the studio. It's been great, stimulating, and I think it really shows that there is a key role for play for many purposes. In our instance, active play as a way of promoting physical activity, but clearly where you're coming from as well, that play is important for so many other reasons for children. I do have a few final points to leave you with and resources for you to continue engaging in this space if you found it interesting. So first and foremost, the recording for this session, if you found it interesting and want to go back and listen to it again, it will be available on Cities Changing Diabetes YouTube channel, and please do share it with your network. Of course, if you do have any questions or you want to follow up with any of the speakers, please reach out to us, and I think the email contact address will be coming up and we can connect you with our speakers. If you're curious to learn more, please do look at the Move for Fun approach, which is on our citieschangingdiabetes.com website. You can go Get Inspired Reports Physical Activity and you'll see information there. And for the Let's Play program, please visit www.learningthroughplay.com. This was our last CCD Rounds for the year. It's been a long and busy year for us here, and we're looking forward to coming back in 2024 with lots of really exciting topics and lots of other initiatives in the public health space. Thanks to everybody who's contributed to today's session and to every CCD round this year. It's been brilliant, and it really helps us and our wider community continuously learn and improve how we can work on this topic in urban health. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and please do keep on sharing, and we'll see you again next year. Thanks so much. Bye.